crops have been bred for thousands of years now to grow in extremely fertile soil. Soil that's much more fertile than anything you find in nature. There's not many places on this planet where you can just put a vegetable seed in the ground, you can dig up the grass, put in a vegetable seed, and grow a vegetable. Doesn't work. Okay? The nutritional level in the soil, the fertility of that particular ground's got to be several fold more fertile than nature usually makes it. Now, there's a couple of places I've seen where you can actually grow vegetables on the ground as it comes. One of them is in the Singatoka Valley in Fiji, where they have this alluvial soil that's refreshed every 2 or 3 years by a cyclone that causes flooding like the Nile River, and the rock particles that come down out of that particular band of mountains upriver from the Singatoka Valley are just chock-a-block full of minerals. It's just amazing rock. It's a rare rock deposit. I've lusted after having a farm in the Singatoka Valley. That soil is so gorgeous. Okay. But we can't do that anywhere else. Okay. I don't know anywhere in Australia that we can do that. So we have to do something to make the soil more fertile, or we don't get a veggie garden. But the poor gardener is sort of at the end of a whole information chain that's both confusing, technical, and contains a lot of false information. The worst of the false information happens because of the organic gardening and farming movement. As strange as this seems. You see, the movement developed in opposition to the use of chemicals. Chemical fertilizers had pretty well taken over industrial agriculture by the Second World War. And they had destroyed the fertility of fields, ruined the health of animals, caused no ends of problems, made a lot of money for veterinarians, were great for the seed business that had to come up with brand new varieties every couple of years because of disease problems that didn't have to be there in the first place. And some far-sighted people looked at this and said, no, we have to go back to a different kind of farming. We have to use organic matter. And the books were all saying that by making compost and by composting manure and by various other kinds of recycling of organic materials, we can grow our crops without using chemicals. Okay. Well, this is true. But the crops that they were referring to were what I call field crops. Wheat, rye, oats, barley, lucerne, turnips. These are things that will grow on soil as it comes. You only have to make the soil a little better than it comes, and you can get a nice crop of wheat. Okay. But that level of fertility doesn't work for vegetables. Vegetables need the highest levels of fertility. Now, there was a time prior to the Second World War when we had lots of animals. We had horses that pulled wagons. We had working livestock, okay, and there were lots of them everywhere. We had heaps of manure, and this manure was from animals that had to be fed well enough that they could do a job of work and breed. Okay. This is no longer the case. First of all, we don't have stable horses, not very often. Oh yeah, here and there you find a racing stud someplace where you can get pretty high quality stable manure. But most of the time, the horses that we have in stables are there for recreation. And they're fed garbage, and they're not very healthy. And their manure is very low quality and doesn't grow things very well. So the gardener reads that you get a bunch of this low quality manure and you make a compost heap out of it, that you should grow a wonderful garden with it. But garbage in, garbage out. And you start with poor manure and you get poor compost, and then you get poor result in your garden. Right? It's almost impossible to source manure of the kind of quality that used to exist when these organic gardening books were written. So we get a very poor result from doing what might have worked 60, 70 years ago.